That's very, very important to know. But how you pull it out, that's what Naomi was talking about. How to pull out a vision out of a young man, it may not be easy. Because if he doesn't find in you the wife or the partner that he's looking for, he's going to keep it inside of him. You can pull it out and you can help him get to that level. But we're not here for that tonight. We're here for ourselves.
Well, I'm a very emotional individual. Of course, as a woman, I like to share my emotion. I like to be able to communicate how I feel. The great thing about being married to Anis is that Anis is a quite jovial person, always laughing, always smiling, always presenting life in the best light.
Yeah.
So that is a really great way, or a great character trait for him, the personality trait that he has, that actually helps me to balance. A lot of the times, most people who know me, they might say to you that I'm very serious. I am more of
That's what spirituality does.
Stop. So a lot of you will say that, okay, Naomi is a very serious person. But I do have a very funny side. I do have a jovial side. And I like the fact that Anis pulls that out of me. And so,
I'm pulling it out. Yeah.
So it's always the balance there. Because I think that, yes, out of the two of us, I am more of the serious person. But
how do you know?
How do I know? And so what I believe is that God allowed us to have different personalities, but the two of us working together, it works. And so where seriousness is needed, I'll represent that. And then when it's the jovial time, Anis will represent that. So in any conversation with the two of us, you're going to get both of them. So again...
50% agree. Here's why. Thanks to Balanced Life, I agree with you. But thanks to Balanced Life, I was able to explain to her that there's a difference between spirituality and emotion. And the question is, how do we deal with emotion? Yes, emotion has the laugh and the cry and the tears. However, it is very, very, very difficult for people who are spiritually oriented to find in them the difference between emotion and spirituality. For example, if you go to a church, you will see that a lot of people are crying, worshiping, etc. But some of them, it's only 50% spiritual and 50% emotional. And sometimes you go to a church, you're worshiping, and you may not even want to stay there because you say, you know what, this is just emotional. I'm not staying there. Why? Because the way they express themselves, they don't have the leaders to tell them, hey, we got to work on our spirituality right now. Or to get, hey, let's work on our emotion right now. My wife and I, we study Balanced Life. We're not there yet, because even if God has revealed what Balanced Life is, but we are still studying because we came from different background. For example, when you come about, I know when you talk about emotion, you want to hear how we deal with our emotional issues, and I don't think they want to hear about our bed stories and stuff like that. But my point is, sometimes we have to remind ourselves, this is the time to feed our emotions. This is not the time to feed our spirituality. This is time to feed our emotions. That's why we talk about date nights. Let me tell you, those who've been watching our shows or Facebook, you can see at 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes we post something. Not me. Not me. She does. And I told her, get out of the room. Because my room between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m., It has to be between spirituality and emotion. And that's going to be our spirituality and our emotional time. Do you see what I'm saying? But when you started putting things, this is still emotion, like just little reminder things. I love Facebook, but my emotional time, our emotional time has to be respected. But we're not there yet. And that's not it's a problem, but I have to admit it, we're not there yet. That's very important, because once we start respecting those times, like, trying to divide time as it's supposed to be based on the balanced life, you will see that there's 6 hours for emotion, there's 6 hours for spirituality within the 24 hours time that we have on a daytime, which is very, very important for us to talk about. But again, this is not the time when we do sessions with seminars with people. We explain to them how to spend your emotional time and how to spend your spiritual time.
Well, there's several things. There's several times that Anis has really gone over and beyond to support me. But one of them that I can remember is right before we got married. In our home, we had a fire, and everything was burnt. We lost everything. And I remember the day after the fire, Anis going back to the house with me, and I was in such a shock that I could not even walk through the house to go into my room and to retrieve my belongings, because I was devastated. I was in total shock. And I remember him taking my hand and saying to me, after today, you won't ever see this again. But for right now, you need to go in the room. You need to find out what is not burnt, or you need to identify what is what can be saved, and we need to take it, and then we need to leave. And that day, I saw in him not just a husband, but I saw in him somebody who can literally go through any circumstance in life and come out on the other side. And for me, where I was, freezing at some points and sad and not knowing how to navigate the situation, he really took control of the situation and helped me to go into the room, identify what was able to be salvaged, collect them, and leave the house. And I think that for me, even before we got married, that experience helped me to understand the type of man that I was marrying.
Well, I think we have to put him more often in front of cameras. This is the first time I hear that. Thank you, and I thank God for the way I am, because I didn't even remember that.
And something else, I remember after the fire, I'm a big shoe person, right? And I remember after the fire, I was literally sitting on my porch and trying to clean some of my shoes so I would not have to throw them away. And I remember him sitting there and laughing at me. And while it was such a dramatic situation for me, because I had lost a lot of suits and I had lost a lot of shoes, and I literally was washing some of them.
Oh my
and I
goodness.
remember him just cracking up and laughing. And what could have been a depressing situation, in that moment, God allowed him to use his personality, to use his laughter, to use his jovial character to really stir up joy in my heart, irregardless of the fact that it was a difficult time for me. Since we've got married, I would say that delivering my son was a very traumatic situation for me. It was my first child. I wanted to have natural birth, and unfortunately, it did not happen that way. After several hours in the hospital, I had to have an emergency C-section. And Anis literally was by my side from start to finish. Now, for any woman who's ever had to have a C-section, you know, after you have the C-section, that's when the real issue is. And I literally remember not being able to get off the bed in the hospital and wanting to go to the bathroom to just brush my teeth and just be able to take a shower. And I remember literally Anis sleeping on one of those roll-out beds. And I remember calling to him and saying, I would like to take a shower. I would like to be able to wash myself. And I remember him going into the bathroom with me and literally helping me to wash myself. And to me, I think that irregardless of where we ever end up in life, that day, he showed me that I can depend on him. That if anything was to happen to me, that I would not physically be able to take care of myself, that not only was he able to do it, he was willing to do it. And
hopefully she you know, I don't get weaker than no, you know.
And so to me, the birth of my son and going through the healing process of cesarean, to me really was one of the most impactful moments that we've experienced together.
Well, briefly, I believe the child, you know, that God has given us is a very, 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 you know, important thing for me, because he's probably my last, our last too. I don't know. We never know. But I, as a divorced man, and when I left my first family, I left my kids very young, 6, 5. And before that, I had a child, before marriage. So she's about, in her 30s. So I've never lived with them their entire lives. So I want to tell them right now, I'm doing this for them too. I want to make sure this boy is raised by me, with me, until I die. And I'm doing it for my kids. I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for myself. And of course for humanity. I missed the opportunity to stay strong. But now I'm going to stay strong. I'm going to be strong for my family and for my child. And I'm doing it for all children with no father in their family. Don't cry. I'm not going to cry. But it's a positive thing. It's a positive thing. I hope everyone can learn from this experience to rebuild again, to live again, and to make differences in people's life. This is what balanced life is all about, especially in the emotional side of life. Sometimes, you know, you think of your child or your children. It's like you say, wait a minute, what about them? But it's too late now to do certain impact, physical impact on people, but you can do it with what you have. And I'm telling you now, to my children, I don't have to say name, and my grandchildren, this experience is for you too. Yes. 2014, 2016, I proved to our community how much I love them. Even though I was going through a lot, and now they know I was a divorced man in 2014. But yet that didn't stop me for going for office. Running for office is probably the most important things when it comes to leadership. I said in my book there are 4 types. In addition, I never spoke about leadership in politics. So spirituality is one, education is one, emotion and finance. Okay, there's 4 types of leadership that's really strong in this world. They kind of encompass everything that we deal with. However, leadership when it comes to politics is on top of all of them. Okay, because every decision that is made is based on politics. Every single decision. See this clothes here? The type of fiber that they use, okay, whatever they use to do this, it was voted upon, okay, so that they don't use any type of materials, cheap materials, for you to live in, okay. So it's important for you to understand when it comes for political leadership, you cannot choose any kind of persons to lead you, either in locally or nationally. Okay, so that's what we are suffering now. In Haiti, we had that same problem. Certain people that we choose